Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are actually going to stand by for a couple of minutes to let more people join the webinar. We will be starting exactly at 2:02. So if you could just be patient and give us a couple of minutes so that we can get as many people on board as possible before we start the webinar. Thanks. Hi, everyone. So we're back. My name's Lizette Chin, president of Men's Fashion at Informa Markets, formerly known as UBM. Thank you so much for joining us today. We want to officially welcome you to the Men's Spring Summer 2020 Trend Webinar presented by Fashion Snoops. I'll start by going over a few housekeeping items. Please note you'll be placed on mute during the duration of the call. All questions will be addressed via the Q&A log or at the end of the presentation. If you experience any system issues, click on the help option on your registration reminder email, and hopefully we'll be able to address any issues that you're having at this time. Okay, did we go to slide 2? Yes, great. Before we dive into the presentation, I want to just quickly talk about our upcoming market in New York this July 21 to 23, which is a Sunday to Tuesday at the Javits Center. For the first time, we're excited. We're doing a live model presentation with our Made in Italy group, which represents about 53 brands. The first event of the show happens before our show opens at 8:30 in the morning, and it consists of an exclusive preview of the collections from the Made in Italy section. The Italian Trade Commission is hosting this invite-only breakfast and live model presentation, like I said, at 8:30, called Love Italian Style. Stephen Gardner, who's fashion director of MR Magazine, and Carl Edwin Gear of Gearisms, he's a pretty famous influencer, will recap the trends they saw on the streets and on the runways this season in Florence and Milan, interpreted on our show floor through the Made in Italy brands. The looks will, if you miss the model presentation, the looks will live on mannequins throughout the remainder of the show floor. If you did not receive an invitation and you are a retailer and you would love to attend, please reach out to Drew Hecht at drew.hecht@ubm.com. And if space allows, we would love to see you there. In addition to that, we're excited to have Project Now back in both New York and our Vegas show. If some of you missed it last time around, it's basically a creative environment focused on streetwear for fashion and culture enthusiasts. This is sort of an incubator for culturally relevant ideas and brands, and it highlights contemporary companies that are pushing the culture forward while remaining commercially viable. We have brands in there like Chinatown Market, Champion, Tashin. It's a super cool area of the show. High Snobiety supports us as well as WGSN with content, seminars. It's a pretty vibey area of the floor in both New York and Vegas, and it's really become a hot spot on both of our show floors. In addition, sorry about that, we're also launching projection. One of the biggest feedbacks that I would get from retailers is if there was any way that we could highlight new brands on our show floor. So we decided to launch projection, which is a new brand showcase at the front of our show floor, which will basically feature all new brands, emerging design talent, and newly launched products and collections. And of course, you'll find the best brands in the business at Project, the Tents and Market this season. We have a great mix of both established and up-and-comers on our show floor, and a special shout-out to welcome back Rod and Gun, Faraday, and Stant at the Project and Market show floor. And now, without further ado, I'll introduce our speaker, Michael Fisher, VP Creative Director for Menswear at Fashion Snoops. Michael is recognized as an authority in trend forecasting and leads Fashion Snoops' menswear team to provide analysis across runway, trade shows, and retail. Turning it over to Michael. Take it away, Michael.
Thanks so much, Lizette. We are ecstatic to be back once again as the official trend provider with UBM Fashion for Spring/Summer 20. So today's webinar should take approximately 40 to 45 minutes. What we're going to do, if you have not joined one of our webinars in the past, we're going to take you through our 4 main seasonal narratives for the season. These are men's specific trend stories. We hope that it will kind of inspire you as well as guide you in your selections and assortments as you go through the shows in New York and in Vegas. We're going to take you through cultural influencers, mood, color, and of course, most importantly, key items across contemporary, tailoring, accessories, and denim. So we'll jump right into the Spring/Summer 20 narratives. Today we'll be taking you through these 4 stories: Operandi, Bright City, Pure, and Psychotropics. So our first trend story for today is Operandi. And before we jump into the actual story, I hope that I can kind of lay the foundation for you so you can kind of understand where we came from this research. And we've been tracking these trends for approximately 2 years now. I'm really happy to say that based on the most recent men's runways that just ended a couple of weeks ago, as well as any early indicators we're getting from Street Style and some early trade shows, all of these trends have started to be confirmed and validated in a really beautiful way. So I am confident that you will see all 4 of these on the floor at all of the shows coming up. So for Operandi, we're looking at 4 main cultural influences here. One is really about future solutions. So right now, our industry is at a crossroads with a lot of industries, a lot of disruptors, and it's really becoming the perfect place to kind of solve a whole new slew of problems. We're noticing that a lot of companies are utilizing technology in new and interesting ways. The example here on the page is actually an awesome experiment that Puma recently did with MIT outside of Boston. They created these insoles that actually measure athletic performance using bacteria from the wearer, also shoes that actually breathe. And these are just one of many experimental pieces that's going on with sportswear and activewear. Also, we're looking at MENA as an influential region. For those of you that don't know, MENA is the Middle East and North Africa. And this is an area that our team has been tracking for quite some time. Right now, it is a cultural corridor in the world. There's a lot of amazing innovation coming out of there, not only in design and architecture, but also with technology and other micro cultural sets as well. Also, we look at primitive aesthetics from a design perspective. There's a huge new renewed global interest in ancient civilizations, primitive life, and how all of those things from the past are now influencing everyday aesthetics of today. This is very interesting. And finally, we look at the analog counter-revolution. Right now, this makers movement that we've all been talking about for quite some time is inspiring this counter-revolution of sorts, which is pushing a whole new wave of inventors and artists. It's kind of the modern-day Leonardo da Vinci, if you will. So that takes us into the actual story, and this is called Operandi. So those of you that are, of course, word lovers know that Operandi is really someone's mode of working. So for Spring/Summer 20, we're really focused on how do you make utility look more refined and seamless. I think that for several seasons, we've all been talking about utility and function kind of being hidden and being secondary to the entire design look. Now we're finding that utility is front and center, it's bold, it's exaggerated, and I think that it's a really great complement into this kind of modern day creative who really is kind of appreciating the past and the future in very equal ways. So I kind of consider this, as I said, this Leonardo da Vinci, this kind of Indiana Jones type of character, and we're seeing it all over the streets already. I think also there's a really cool infusion of kind of a sci-fi fantasy, a little bit of a steampunk edge. What we come away with are rugged, very time-honored new ways to do uniforms for men. It gets, they all get a new life with refined surfaces, really smart fabrics that work harder for you, subtler functions as embellishments, and also we want to start including tailored shapes with outdoor-ready styling. That's what this mood is at a glance. So we also want to look at colors here, and I think the colors are really beautiful. Notice that there's lots of various shades of tans and oranges and taupes. Those are really warm casts. Those are the most important to this story. We also wanted to give you a little bit of yellow-infused greens, some fiery reds. Those give a notion of kind of all natural influence, kind of nature's drama, if you will. Also, the influence of technology comes through with the electric blue, copper, gunmetal, metallics. So I think that it's really interesting that when you're walking the show floor to look for some really cool ways to kind of infuse tech-looking surfaces in with really traditional khakis and twills and olives. That's really where the newness comes in. Wanted to give you a word bank for each of the 4 stories today because I just think it helps communicate everything really well. We're looking at future folklore, treasured relics. Who is the creator? There's lots of talks of the creator in today's marketplace. Prehistoric steampunk, the inventor, how do we make utility look refined? And there again is that modern day Da Vinci. So pattern and graphics are always important to you all that attend this webinar. So we wanted to give you kind of a zoomed in glance at the most important ones here. Overall, you'll notice that everything has a really kind of ancient artisanal influence here. So we take a zoomed out digital focus on maps and topography. We also have a lot of really interesting things with sacred geometry. We look at the inventor as an influence. Even the checks and the plaids kind of have a more natural, time-worn effect to them. And then the dyes, the tie-dyes, the ancient dyes in the lower left corner, those are very, very important to this entire story. So jumping into key items for operandi, looking at outerwear, the parka is still there. It is still important, but it is way more utilitarian focused. So where we've been seeing a lot of kind of tissue weight, parachute parkas in the last couple of spring, summers, this one is really all about the asymmetrically placed pockets. They're much more dimensional in their weights. Also, we want to look at doing year-round silhouettes. That's key to the men's market right now. Looking at tailored clothing, we call this the simple suit. And this is simply suiting separates with really little to no embellishment. Minimalism can be included in this story in a really beautiful way. Not everything has to be super embellished with utilitarian and functional trim. The smarter the surface, the better it works. So stretch is still really important. Suiting that a guy can crumple up in his bag and take with him day into night is essential to this. Also, we really would love for more directional people out there, buyers, to consider convertible silhouettes, which of course will fit the occasion. Looking at knitwears and sweaters, this is a lightweight seamed sweater. It's a linen silk blend that we loved on the runway. It's perfect for summer. I think there's also a really great return to a subtle roll neck, and this is a perfect spring item. More key items, looking at the zip front shirt here. This one came from the Xenia runway, and we really loved the all-over print here that kind of had that Da Vinci steampunk vibe. Also, the zip front is a great new way to update the patterned camp shirt that's all over the marketplace currently. That's still going to be around for next summer, but look for more interesting ways to update it, whether it's through fit or through closure. Also, the cargo is back, believe it or not. We are seeing it already on the streets. This is a clean, more minimal cargo. So it's not all about the pocket. It's there, but it's definitely a more streamlined approach at it. I think that these kind of barely there cargo pockets are key to the entire head-to-toe look. Also, I would tell you to consider more technical materials for these, not just looking at cotton twill, but some really great technical mixtures would be great. And then for knits, we love this summer hoodie. It's a rolled up short sleeve, kind of oversized hoodie, spongy in its surface effect. I think it's really great translated to the warmer months. It is still a really wonderful perennial part of menswear. So for denim, we gave you the excavator jean. This is kind of an inside-out construction. This is really important to the entire trend right now, but just kind of seeing how it's constructed, the piece construction in really bold ways. Also, this denim sport coat, it's really, I think, exactly what this modern-day Indiana Jones would be sporting. It's a really beautiful blue, inky blue resin rinse. Also, this is a Serpa jean, the second from the right. Makes use of a really cool kind of double stone wash, which emphasizes the rugged look. And also, we end with the engineer's jacket. Everyone's been seeing the chore jacket start to emerge as a key item for the season. This is another great way to do that in a really rugged fabric. Now looking at accessories for a few minutes. First, we'll focus on footwear. This sport derby is really key. It's really just playing around with that kind of outdoorsy influence here, but it is still refined at its core. Consider things like shark tooth soles. Of course, all these more sportier nylon strappings are important. The sandal is becoming more and more important. For the last season or two, it's been a more fashion-forward item, especially for younger guys. It's now extending to the contemporary market as well. I think this one is perfectly sophisticated and sporty at the same time. And then the low top that kind of has a handcrafted influence. The edges are a little unfinished. The canvas is really heavyweight. And of course, that gum rubber sole is still important as well. For bags, we really love this paper tote. It's a little oversized in its emphasis, but we really love how it kind of has that crisp, crinkled nylon blend surface effect. Also, this really beautiful research pack in the middle, which is kind of a convertible backpack. It can open as a really tall duffel, should he wish. So again, giving him items that can go for many different occasions are key. And then finally, the neck pouch is really, really important. We've been seeing this all over the streets. It was all over the runways. So we really think this is an important thing to invest in, especially if you are a retailer that focuses on a little more directional, younger of a customer. This one is a really great kind of mesh, but you can do them in all different fabrics and colors. And then finally, some of our other accessories. For glasses, we love these kind of brainiac, semi-rounded readers, really great for this kind of, smart influence trend overall. Token necklaces and bracelets are really important. So things that look like they're antiques, they look like they've been found in an antique market. That continues to uptrend really importantly. And then for hats, we just like this kind of fitted cap. It's a little more of a structured canvas. It's meant to kind of look like a beanie, but of course has a little bit more of a structured appearance. So this is your buyer's checklist. Take a photo of this. Also a reminder, this entire presentation will be living on the UBM Fashion website after today's webinar, but this is your buyer's checklist. We'll go through them really quickly. Again, utility should be front and center. Let the details do the talking. So these zip front shirts, these rolled neck details, let those be what really gets him interested in the items you're buying. Modern day cargos, packable suiting, inside out construction, chore jackets continue to be super important. Antique dye effects for print and pattern, zip front shirts, antique inspired accessories, and the summer weight parka. That is your buyer's checklist for operandi. So that takes us to our second trend story for today, which is Bright City. So our cultural influences here, there's no doubt that there's a huge 80s revival happening right now. I'm sure most of you on the call have already binge watched the entire season 3 of Stranger Things and saw that it broke records, but that's just one of many examples of 80s excess, 80s culture being huge in popular culture right now. So we wanted to highlight that. We also wanted to talk about unfiltered and authentic. There's a huge growing desire for imagery and reports and stories that are authentic to people's lives. I think it's a backlash against all things fake and filtered, Instagram-worthy, if you will. So this is a perfect influence for this story as well. We also look at a return to decadence. I kind of continue to refer to this as the Guccification of our market, but of course, more is more, and that is definitely going to be going on for another season. So there's tons of new ways to show how you can do decadence and opulence for the men's market. And then finally, we end with sci-no-fi. And basically, this means that no longer do the things that we see as science fiction have to be fiction. We're actually seeing that for the first time, a lot of technological advancements are fusing with these really great retro aesthetics. So for our mood board for Bright City, you know, we've had several seasons, especially if you joined us for last spring's webinar. We talked about suburbia to suburbia, Main Street styling, if you will. So we've had a lot of seasons of all-American classics, very wholesome styling. So finally, this man has kind of escaped from the suburbs, and I think that right now the city is where it's at. So there's a big, big return to all of the things that are happening in the cities, the energy of the cities. I think all the prestige, the opulence. What is aspiration in 2020, especially for men? That's a really, really big thing that we're trying to explore as trend forecasters. We want to kind of give a mix of being able to be expressive in his skin, while also all this big city excitement really pushes him to like the next interesting experience. So his vibe overall is really like maximum urbane energy. Also, he's exploring downtown art galleries, glitzy nightclubs. Everyone that's been in New York and London and Tokyo, you know, there's a huge new return to nightlife after it's kind of died away the last 10 years. So overall, I think that this trend is a little bit of old school luxury entering the equation with kind of a renewed appreciation for things like Cadillacs, early Giorgio Armani, novels by Tom Wolfe, Bret Easton Ellis. In fact, I really think that men are having more fun with tailored clothing again, which is really great for a lot of you out there after it's been kind of soft part of the market for a bit. So we're trying to reinterpret the power suit in new ways that are sporty and professional at the same time. So looking at the colors for Bright City, again, ultimate energy is showing up with a wide range of pinks and purples. We have these new colors we call pastel neons. Those are new and very important to the market. They're really fun. They're really young. So that includes a wide range of golds and greens and fuchsias. Also, luxury comes through in these really super saturated jewel tones and kind of these mauve casted browns. Those are really, really important. So red casted and purple casted browns are really luxurious, really refined, and those are very important to the season overall. So for the word bank for Bright City, again, escape from the suburbs. It's all about the city, corporate opulence, new aspiration, glamour and grit, maximum energy, and bold and expressive. How does he tell that in his outfit? For pattern and graphics, it's certainly super driven by a retro 80s aesthetic. We love all of these kind of 80s aspirations. The upper left image looks a lot like a lot of the posters that many of us had in our bedrooms growing up in the 80s. So we're seeing a really cool return to these kinds of things for t-shirt graphics. We also notice a really big influx of big polka dots front and center on shirtings, these really cool kind of traditional rep stripes that we would typically see on a necktie. We're seeing those translated to woven shirts and as trim as well. And also just really fun like tech nostalgia, you know, the way that the internet looked then before it really existed as today. And then lots of really great kind of glow effects. So jumping into key items, the trench is a really important key item here. We call it the downtown trench. It's really classic cotton gabardine, but we give it a little bit of an iridescent finish. So any kind of subtle fashion touch that you can put on a trench coat or a balmacon is really, really great for the season. We love these fashion suits. We call this the club suit. This is from the Todd Snyder runway. They're really kind of the boldly colored plaids in understated colors. We love that the construction is really deconstructed in its nature. It fits like a beautiful T-shirt, and it's just a really great addition to this fashion wardrobe. And then finally, for knits and sweaters, we have this kind of luster sweater, so a little bit of a crinkly, old-school Armani-inspired knitwear. For the woven shirts, we call this the track shirt, and this is kind of a shirt jacket evolving to a sportier influence. And we've been talking about the shirt jacket for quite some time. So this one kind of comes in a satin poly surface. It's casual, it's young, it can be paired with a matching pant or matching short. For the pants, they are definitely loosening up, especially for the younger guys. They're really starting to embrace a little bit more of a relaxed fit. I know that it's taken many, many years to get most of your customers over to a slimmer suit. That's fine. That's not going anywhere. But if you're a retailer that focuses a bit on a younger guy, he's definitely looking for especially a pant that is a little looser and a little more fun in its fit. And then for knits, we have this spliced sweatshirt, half and half graphics. They're still performing really well. We really love this working for really any sweatshirt silhouette. It doesn't have to be a crew neck. It can be any silhouette. So for denim, this is the denim moto jacket. It's perfect for this trend. It's a trucker moto hybrid. We love the over-dyed, then finished with kind of an acid wash that makes it a little bit new. Again, for the younger guy, a really fun pleated jean, a trucker that's kind of bleached, and then these acid wash jeans for the most directional of consumers. Jumping into footwear, the loafer is still one of the most important items you could possibly have in your assortment. Again, thanks to Gucci. So how can you update it and do it in great new ways? You can do metal bands where typically the crossover would come in. You can do really interesting things with the sole or change up the upper completely. Also, the sneaker boot is still here. We're seeing a lot of guys starting to experiment with the uppers here, whether it's kind of an exotic-inspired skin, also really fun things with colors. And then the Chelsea boot is important here. Believe it or not, there are some guys out there that are starting to play around with a bit of a square toe again. I know that it's really kind of, really aggressive to our eyes because it's something that we really have shied away from for a really long time. But some of the younger guys are really starting to gravitate towards that again. You can also play around with the color of the gusset as well. Looking at bags, we have this crossbody bag here. Typically, it's a more luxurious finish. It's kind of a leather that has that embossed finish or kind of an exotic skin. The bodega bag in the middle is awesome. Really love how, again, you can kind of work it into his everyday life. It's really lightweight. It can go to the gym. It can go to the office. And then the weekender is really important as more and more guys are getting interested in travel, even if it's a sojourn out of the city for the weekend. We're really loving that guys are investing in weekender bags that come in really a wide range of patterns, colors, and fabrics. And then for furnishings and accessories, the bucket hat is super important. Anyone that's walked around New York City or LA, you have seen an influx of bucket hats as of late. So definitely invest in a couple for your assortments. The tie is back in a really small way, but we really love these more bold polka dots that I spoke of earlier. And then any glasses, eyewear, sunglasses, really oversized, very 80s inspired and luxurious. So your buyer's checklist for Bright City includes new ways to do the power suit, spliced sweatshirts and other knits. Logo mania is super important. Even if you can do a logo in a new and interesting and unrecognizable way, that's awesome. Give him sporty sets, old school trench coats, color clashing, it's super important. 1980s inspired accessories, something that you would see in American Psycho perhaps. Denim is relaxed. Necktie can actually be trim and prints, and also the fashion loafer. So our third seasonal narrative for today is called Pure. So let's take a look at the cultural influences first before jumping into the mood. So everyone out there today has, of course, heard of, the fear of missing out, FOMO. We would love to actually introduce you, the concept of JOMO, which is the joy of missing out. So right now, everyone is talking about mental health awareness, and it is really important to actually disconnect. So a lot of experts are really, talking about the joy of actually realizing that you're not a part of everything and anything. And so that's a really great concept. Body positivity, I don't even have to tell you how important this is. Talking about non-traditional gender norms are influencing all of our business models right now. So we wanted to talk about that. Also emotional connections. More and more, especially in menswear, we are loving all of these campaigns about how it's okay for men to be in touch with their heart, their soul, mental health awareness. So this is an example from Bowery Poetry, which is here in New York. It's a poetry club. And we also wanted to talk about how poetry is really trending in popular culture right now. People are seeking deeper connections with themselves and with others. And so that's really, really cool to see. And then finally, sustainability 2.0. How do we take sustainability beyond just recycling and talking about upcycling? This is really talking about new plant-based fabrics like pineapple skins, mushrooms, an increase in farm-to-table ingredients, utilizing with clothing. So that was really important to bring up as well. So taking a look at the mood for Pure, this was very much inspired by, Call Me By Your Name, if any of you have seen that movie, that kind of Italian, European holiday inspiration. We really wanted to focus on the fun of summer and really remembering all of your favorite memories of youth and kind of the frivolity, the flirting, the long, hazy days. All of that really is meant to inspire this trend. So we kind of pictured this guy being at a crumbling villa somewhere. We wanted to kind of focus on this kind of new wave romance for the ages. I thought that there's really great ways to introduce new layers of summer weight fabrics, really breezy classics that have kind of a sun-bleached effect. So this trend overall is really just about really relaxed ease and, how do we do classics and time-honored tradition in a really easygoing way. So for the color palette, I think this is really lush. You'll notice right away there's a sunburst of summer colors. Those are really important to the season overall. I have to tell you, greens are key to your season. So you'll notice on this color palette alone, I probably have about 5 different greens. They range from really lush chlorophyll greens to really kind of swimming pool blues. Sun-faded pastels kind of have a chalkier appearance, and that's really great for any of those more athleisure-inspired pieces that you may consider putting into your assortment. And also there's a combination of blues that are found in the sky. It's inky blue, periwinkle blue, and of course the gold is a really beautiful accent as well. So taking a look at the word bank for Pure, it's all about a lighthearted summer, fragility, bleach classics, being vulnerable, lush and playful, and of course I think overall Italian holiday really says it overall. So looking at our pattern and graphics here, notice that the florals and the fruits are really fun and quirky and whimsical. They kind of have a painterly effect. We really felt that was really fun and interesting. Even the landscapes have a little bit more of an abstract, color-blocked influence. The stripes, the awning stripes, and all the other nautical stripes have a watery appearance. I think that's really key. Notice in the lower center of the collage, we really want to talk about honesty and vulnerability. So really playing around with typography and stains on T-shirts and details and trim. And then the lower left corner is really all about kind of statues and kind of these museum-worthy graphics. So for key items, the first thing that we look at here is the linen bomber jacket, which I love. The bomber jacket really just seems like it's not going anywhere. It's really become the perfect sport coat alternative for a lot of guys. A lot of times when they want to dress up a look, for the office or for nighttime. Instead of doing a sport coat, they're doing a bomber jacket instead. So this is just a really great summer variation of it. It's a short sleeve silhouette. It's linen. It's really lightweight. You could also do it in chambray or a multitude of other fabrics. The suit here is the perfect kind of Italian summer holiday suit. This one's a cotton linen blend. We're seeing people do a lot more interesting things with linen and making it look modern. It used to be that linen was really, reserved for the ultra-traditional market, and now we're starting to see younger guys embrace it because they're realizing that it's so versatile. Looking at sweaters, this is an open work sweater, which we love, classic crew neck. It's perfect for the beach. It's perfect for, summer holidays, and I love it in really light, delicate colorways. Also, we look at this beautiful pieced construction shirt. It's making use of really classic yarn-dyed stripes. Also, we look at a tourister short. It's a little baggier, pleated in appearance. And then the polos and the knits are very, very important, once again, to the market. I love the Johnny collar. Kind of looks fresh and new for the first time in a long time. And you can do some really great things with prints and embellishment as well. So I thought the feather for this one was really cool. So for denim, it's really simple, really kind of 80s inspired. The fisherman jean, it's just a really relaxed denim piece with kind of a pulled down, elongated hip detail. The trucker jacket is super tailored and a really beautiful raw denim finish. Also, we love these kind of cropped jeans. And then the denim shirt here, it's just a crisp, clean denim shirt with no pocket, no embellishment. It's just the perfect denim shirt. Looking at footwear, this espadrille is still performing really well, so we wanted to include that in the forecast. I think that we're seeing some really great things with patterned uppers on espadrilles, but honestly, if you keep it solid and classic, I don't think you can go wrong. Also, the sandal here is just a really great leather sandal. It's super luxurious. And then including a sneaker here, we kind of wanted to do our own version of a modern interpretation of a Converse sneaker. So that's what this is here. It's kind of a slim high top. We also have this shopper bag, super streamlined. I think it kind of has a really, idealistic summer holiday kind of silhouette to it. The weekender is included here as well, but instead of being an all-over pattern, it's just a really beautiful kind of braided leather effect. And then again, the crossbody bag is included in this story as well. And this one just kind of has a really great kind of performance knit, which gives a more sportier look. You can also do some really fun accents like stripes and monograms as well. And then for furnishings and accessories, we have this really great neckerchief. It's really kind of cool to just lay out on your table with your floor program, a really beautiful kind of table or tray of bandanas and neckerchiefs. Also, we have these crafted belts. The craftier the look, the better it's going to perform. We really love these kind of new ways of doing braiding and crochet. And then also the sunglasses here have these really great soft pink hue lenses on them. So your buyer's checklist for the third trend today is all about breezy bombers, suiting that fits like a t-shirt, meaning that suiting that he would be comfortable wearing in the middle of the summer. Light rinse denim, positive messaging is awesome for your graphics. Sun-faded colors overall are very important. Second skin knits, meaning really breezy knits that just kind of he doesn't even know he's wearing. Painted stripes are really important. European 80s styling, handcrafted details, and how do we find new ways of updating cotton poplin. And that takes us to our final trend story for today's webinar, which is a really fun one to end in. This one is called Psychotropics. So let's take a look at culturally where we're coming from. So the first thing we look at is mainstream psychedelics. So, I mean, it's so old school at this point to talk about cannabis, the cannabis conversation. Obviously, it's all over the place. So we're actually noticing now that more and more people are talking about psychedelics. So if you Google right now mainstream psychedelics, you're going to find a slew of articles just from the last few weeks alone. And it's really just talking about the continuation of self-exploration. Also, we look at cult culture. And honestly, I always laugh when I talk about this because I never thought that I would do a trend webinar and tell you that cults are cool, but they honestly are super cool right now. Anything from Netflix shows to, of course, Kanye and his Sunday service, and also tons of designers, their lookbooks, this kind of new ways to do summer uniforms, kind of guru styling, if you will, is really important. We also look at immersive experiences. So how do we add technology into this? Augmented reality. There's a whole new breed of immersive experiences that are changing how we interact with physical spaces. This is super crucial to those of you that have brick and mortar spaces. And it's, of course, nothing that you don't know already, but it is really important to talk about that. And then finally, we talk about virtual influencers. So this image here, of course, is, so most of you have heard of Lil Miquela. She was one of the first CGI influencers created in 2016. She was recently named contributing editor to Day's Beauty. I think she has somewhere around 2 million followers, but she's not real. She doesn't even exist. So lots of brands are creating these new CGI influencers for their lookbooks, for their social media. So the guy here is actually Lil Miquela's brother. His name is Blanco, and you can find him on Instagram. So it's just a really interesting, quirky way to do influencers. So that takes us to our mood for psychotropics. This is really all about hyper surreal summer energy. I kind of consider this guy a modern day Hunter S. Thompson. So I figure he's like leaving the confines of middle America, and he kind of takes this very psychedelic journey to Hawaii, where he joins some kind of eco-commune. That's what I had in mind when I was developing this trend. It's really about the sweetness of wholesome classics kind of being smoked with the weirdness of 1960s surf tribes. Really, things are never what they seem in this trend, which is what I love about it. The colors are bursting beyond reality. There's some really fun ways to do aloha florals. They kind of seem virtual in how they grow from nowhere. The surfaces are kind of basic, but very vacation ready. So I think this is a really fun new way to do a summer look. It's really about maximum love and joy and energy, and I think that it's a really exciting thing to do. The colors are really vibrant. They kind of are colors that seem artificial at first, but these are actually all colors that you would find in natural settings. So that's what I love about them. These fiery oranges and reds, they're setting side by side with cooler casted blues. The golds and the sunburst yellows are really important here as well. And then you want to balance out all that hyper energy with really super saturated browns, purples, olive greens, and charcoal grays. I love the word bank here. I think it says it all. Weird Hawaii, floral waves, Hunter S. Thompson is our influencer, Daydream, Sanctuary, Electric Holiday is awesome, and then Maximum Love. So looking at pattern and graphics, it is a very pattern-heavy story. So how do we show, this kind of trippy new way to do naturescapes and florals? The tropicals are really kind of blurry. We saw a lot of really cool things on the runway where people did like fruit all over fruits and florals and blurred them in a way that you almost think that it's a visual trick. I thought that was cool. I love in the middle the blackened monochrome version of the surf and the beach. The stripes are rainbow infused, really cool ways to do tie-dye. And then finally on the lower left corner, these optical movements, and I love that it kind of has a more black cast saturation on it. So jumping into key items, we have a rainbow windbreaker, which is awesome. There's a new, reemergence of these kind of 70s inspired windbreakers. This one's from the Dries Van Noten runway, but I really love how the color blocking is curvy in its appeal. Also, the suiting here is really vacation ready. It's mismatched suiting separates. I love here they kind of paired it with like a swim trunk bottom. I think that's awesome for in-store visual merchandising. Also, tie-dye sweaters. Really anywhere you could put tie-dye, even if you put it on a fashion blazer, a knit. Tie-dye is performing extremely well, and we've already seen it all over the spring-summer 20 season. Here's some of that blurry fruits and florals that I was talking about. So this is all about the resort shirt set, whether it's matching a shirt and a short, a shirt and a pant. But this is just really fun, and especially the younger guys are really loving this. The skater pant here is kind of a cut right below the knee. It's actually a short more than anything, but it has that skater appeal. And the polo here has a really cool kind of cycling influence. This one came from the Paul Smith runway, I believe, and I just love the color blocking, and I think it's really sophisticated and very polished as well. So for denim, it's all about the dye effects. So first we have this double sleeve shirt where they've kind of done piece construction with some of these really fun cabana stripes. We also have these bleached jean shorts and these tie-dye truckers. And then for the most fashion forward of guys, these really fun neon jeans. So for accessories, we have slip-on sneakers. This is just how do we update this kind of Vans-inspired silhouette. Lots of clashing patterns and colors. The sandal here is really colorful and sporty. The sneaker boot, I love this kind of iridescent influence on the mesh upper. Also looking at bags, the Bodega bag, really deconstructed. This is a monochrome floral print from Neil Barrett. I love that. The belt bag, everyone's been seeing that perform. Guys are wearing it over their chest, around their waist. And then this body harness bag is actually a really cool thing to do for the young guys that have already moved on beyond the belt bag. This is a really cool thing to do, and we've seen it all over the most important runways like Louis Vuitton. And then for furnishings and accessories, the eyewear is just a really great kind of colored lenses and bold colors. The belts are, you know, fun and full of print and nylon. And then the neck wallet kind of goes hand in hand with that crossbody bag that I shared a minute ago. So your buyer's checklist for our final trend today: matching shirt and short sets, surreal tropical prints, pastel neons as a color group, color-blocked windbreakers, tie-dye being done in unexpected ways like a sport coat, rumpled blazers, nostalgic 90s as an influence for you, guru styling, that's really all about monochrome styling, tiny bags and even quirkier accessories, and that van-style slip-on. So I think that concludes our trends for Spring-Summer 20. If you are not a Fashion Snoops client and you'd love to learn more about us, we would love to share a demo with you. Just reach out to us at sales@fashionsnoops.com. We also have a really great event coming up in New York City on November 1st. It's our seasonal trend immersion day. The tickets are already available. You can go onto the website, go to fashionsnoopsevents.com and check it out. It's an amazing day full of influencers and trend direction. But I'm going to turn it back over to the UBM team and hope that we see you at the shows. If you see us, come up and say hello, and good luck for your season ahead. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Michael. So at this time, we'll open it up for questions. We also have Drew Hecht, Men's Retail Manager for Informa Markets, here if you have any show-related questions as well. Thanks. Okay, Michael, it looks like our first question, will you be doing any presentations at the upcoming shows this season?
So we've already done some presentations at shows. We do have an event in Vegas. So if you just go to the UBM website where all the seminars are, you should be able to find details on that.
Okay, it looks like this question is for Drew. How many brands will be at the show about, roughly speaking?
Yeah, we have about 300 brands exhibiting in New York this season. And then that'll cover men's apparel from lifestyle and sportswear to contemporary denim and footwear. And in Vegas, I believe we're about 400 to 500 as well. And again, covering all categories from across men's apparel, footwear, and accessories.
Okay, another question from Michael. Here it's coming in. What trends are you seeing that would specifically be related to non-binary wear?
Oh, that's a great question. So what's been really interesting is over the last few seasons, non-gender assortments really meant just menswear basics that women were buying. We're actually seeing that shift a little bit. So I know this really only applies to the most directional of consumers out there, but we are starting to see some really interesting influx of more feminine touches. So more use of feminine fabrics like silks and satins, maybe more, feminine infused colors and whatnot. That's where we're starting to see it go right now. And also it's really all about the silhouette. So a lot of more gender neutral assortments are kind of playing around with the shape and silhouette, something that maybe looks a little more feminine. Traditionally, we are seeing some younger guys really start to embrace that. And what's interesting is the guys that are embracing it the most are the guys in the urban markets, influencers who are rappers and from that whole place. So it's really interesting to see, also at skaters and whatnot. So if you want to kind of see how people are doing it, you should definitely check out Street Style. I know we have some reports on our site that are showing how people are doing it, but that's really where people are starting to experiment with gender neutral at this moment.
Okay, we have another question from Michael about denim, asking specifically what denim trends are you seeing for spring summer 20?
So I think you've seen most of the major denim trends in today's presentation for each of the four. But overall, I think that something that anyone out there that works in denim should be happy about is that, during the last few seasons, which was full of athleisure, I think that denim was really taking a backseat to everything. But we are starting to see a little bit more of a return to depreciation for denim. I think that it's not at all about super dark, raw influences at all. If anything, the denim is loosening up. It's becoming a lot more light in its weight and its rents. That's really the most important denim trends. And then, of course, people are playing around with a little more prints like the tie-dye on the denim as well.
Okay, and another question just came in asking what specific trends are you seeing that will dominate the spring-summer 2020 footwear market?
So again, I think other than the footwear trends we just talked about in today's webinar, which hopefully you saw, I think the few core styles that I would tell you to go after would be all about that fashion loafer. Again, slip-ons are performing exceedingly well, whether that's a Vans style sneaker, whether it's a penny loafer, overall slip-ons are performing more than any other silhouette or shape out there. So you definitely want to make sure you have some sort of slip-on. And I think that really just speaks to kind of how men are really looking for everything to be easy going, and the more relaxed, the better. So that's why that's super important. And sneakers are still important. We are seeing people not go towards the more chunkier, ugly sneaker at this point, especially the guys that are really starting the trend. They're starting to gravitate towards more of a cleaner, more minimal sneaker. So that's good news for a lot of you. But yeah, Slip-ons, you should definitely make sure you have that in your assortment in some way.
Thank you, Michael. Another question just came in about sustainability. Do you think sustainability is overpowering other trends this season? How do you think it's doing as a trend?
I don't think it's overpowering at all. I think that it's really important. I think that if you're a retailer or a brand out there listening to this webinar, if you guys are not talking about sustainability, you're really doing yourself a disservice. I think especially the millennials and the Gen Z consumers, they really, really want to know that you are at least considering sustainability when it comes to your manufacturing, your transportation of your goods. So that's really where you have to start. And if you're doing something good as a brand, make sure that you're not shy about it. Consumers really want to know what it is that you're doing. So share that with them through your social media, through your product assortments. When it comes to actual sustainability in design, like I said, there's some really cool things that are being done out there with things like pineapple skins and mushrooms and lab-grown things that are perfect alternative to other fabrics. While that's still really expensive to do, and it's really more for the fashion-forward assortments out there, it is something to keep your eye on and at least be educated about, where the innovations are that people are doing with fabrics and whatnot. But again, if you're not having that conversation internally, you must do that and share it with your consumers.
Thank you for that. Another question just came in about streetwear, asking if it's still important.
I'm glad that someone asked that question. When we just came off of this most recent runway season, our team really decided that for the first time in a long time, streetwear was not as important. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but we are starting to see it really pivot to the next evolution of it. So for anyone that saw what Virgil Abloh did at Louis Vuitton, it's the perfect example of that. So I think that for spring, summer 2020, streetwear doesn't need to be super loud and in your face. I think that streetwear is really just becoming all about easygoing classics that can go from day to night, from play to work. And I think that entire vibe is starting to affect everything from suits and woven shirts. So if anything, I would tell you, it's really all about the streetwear influence and how it's being worked into the other classifications. But yes, streetwear is still there. The younger guy especially is still going to demand it. I just think it's starting to evolve to the next level.
Okay, a trend about swimwear. What trends are you seeing in the swimwear market for 2020?
Great question. So if you saw the last trend for today, Psychotropics as well as the Pure, which was number 3 that we did. Swimwear overall is becoming a lot more of kind of a classic trunk silhouette. Again, almost like with suits, it's taken us a long time to get guys away from super baggy below the knee board shorts. And guys overall are much more proud of their bodies and body conscious. So the swim trunk is really performing well. Everyone from Primark and H&M that gives $12 ones to, brands like Vilebrequin who have more expensive ones. It's really all about fun, all over patterns and prints, very retro in their styling, but that's the biggest trend, and they are performing really well. And I would also tell you that when it comes to pull-on shorts that have like a drawstring that almost, they look like swimwear, but it's, something a guy can wear during the day, those are performing really well as well. So consider both of those.
Hey, Michael, another question for you. How long do you think it takes for fashion how long do you think it takes for fashion from the trend-setting cities to spread throughout the country?
That's a great question. It used to be that it took a lot longer than it does now, is my short answer. Because your guy in Iowa has the same access to what's trendy, what's happening as the guy in New York City. Because of that, trends are way faster than they used to be. So it used to be everyone would be like, oh, you know, it would happen on the coastal cities and then move into the middle of the country. It's not really, that's not a question anymore, especially because guys can go online and, you know, buy anything that's trendy or, you know, anything that's influencing them. They can buy it from anywhere they want. So it's a hard question to answer for you because it really has sped up to be much faster than it used to be. You know, of course, there's always going to be certain markets that are a little slower to adapt to certain trends. Obviously, the traditional market, you know, and even the contemporary market in some way, there's going to be usually a season or two behind some of the other markets that we're all dealing with. I think that's a better barometer for the speed of trends than location is.
Okay, Michael, what about trends for men's neckwear for spring-summer 2020?
So unfortunately, neckwear is still a really soft performing category. It just is the reality of the marketplace. It's an effect of athleisure. You know, it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, I'm a guy that literally has hundreds of ties, and I used to wear a tie every day, and I rarely wear a tie anymore. And when I put one on, it actually just seems weird. But there is something to be said for this kind of really newfound appreciation with what does power dressing mean today. So I am forecasting, as you saw in my second trend, Bright City, I am forecasting a little bit of a return to an appreciation for kind of these more 80s inspired prints on ties, these polka dots, these paisleys, these medallions. I'm not saying that's going to be your biggest performer by any means, but that's really the big thing that I've pulled out, and we'll kind of have to see where it goes next season as far as dressing up. You know, the more the guys are ingrained in this very relaxed, easygoing influence, the better that the economy is doing. Neckwear is going to be an underperforming category. That's just the reality of history. So we'll continue to look at that and see what happens next season.
Well, if there aren't any other questions that come in, we want to thank you, Michael. This was fantastic. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. The presentation and audio will be emailed to you within the next 24 to 48 hours. So thank you all very much. Oh, actually, we have another question. So let me read it off to Michael. With streetwear becoming more and more contemporary, have you noticed a decline in popularity for urban wear / brands for the masses?
You know, that's a really hard question because everyone defines urban wear in a really different way. I guess what I can tell you is that things like logo placement and oversized silhouettes are still performing well. So you still have a season or two before I'd be worried about putting too much of my dollars, too much of my open to buy into that version of streetwear. But as I said a minute ago, it seems like you heard me say, it is starting to pivot to a more contemporary place. So keep your eye on that. I think right now it's kind of just straddling the line between both. But when we look at our urban markets right now, those guys are mostly wearing things like, you know, piece rugby shirts, you know, kind of more 80s and 70s inspired styles. So they've almost kind of started to move away from what we knew of as streetwear a year ago. So because of that, that's why I'm telling you to keep an eye on it, because it's already starting to swing the other way.
Great, thank you, Michael. Another question for you. Are there any brands that you'd recommend people be on the lookout for?
Wow, that's a really loaded question because I'd have to know exactly what market that you're dealing with. But if whoever wrote that question, if you want to send me an email, michael@fashionsnoops.com, and let me know what market specifically, and maybe I can give you some brands. That's a hard question to answer in a webinar, but email me.
Okay, another question. Michael, where do you see menswear business in 2020? Do you see more casual wear in the office?
So yeah, I think as you saw from today's presentation that the office wear is definitely more easygoing. So the sport coats and the blazers take on a little bit more of a personality. We're seeing more guys experiment with colors. And again, that doesn't mean that I say you have to buy orange and red blazers, but the blues are brighter. The greens are more saturated. So, you don't only have to buy into sleeves that are, traditional gray, navy blue, etc. But overall, the office wear is definitely more casual. I mean, if you consider that a lot of the trading companies here in New York are doing away with some of their classic dress codes, I think that says it all. You really have to consider that it's just really changing the way the world is dressing right now. It's definitely more easygoing. I think that it used to be that people thought that if you weren't wearing super tailored pieces that you would look sloppy. I think there's a way to do easygoing but still look super sophisticated and refined.
Okay, Michael, what are the colors and print trends for 2020?
I mean, I think everything I gave you in today's presentation for colors and prints really says it all. So, again, greens are really important, all different shades of greens. The golds are really important. These pastel neons we're loving. That's a new way to do the neons that have been around for the last season or two. And for prints and patterns, again, just if you didn't see all of today's presentation, take a look at it when it's emailed to you. All the major print trends for each of the 4 stories will be there.
Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, then again, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and thank you so much, Michael. Oh, hold on. Okay, yes, and just want to thank you, Michael, for sharing this with us. Again, it will be emailed to you in the next 24 to 48 hours. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.